We have a few more people that we're waiting for. I'm just looking at 7:05. Those that are, I see we have quite a few people in. We'll wait a couple more minutes. But fortunately, those people, not fortunately, those people that maybe are a little bit tardy, they won't miss any of the beer tasting part of it. Maybe some of you have already opened up a can of your beer or having something else beforehand. But I wanted to welcome you all. So again, my name is Jane Drew. I am the Chief Development Officer at Little City, and I'm so excited that you all joined us tonight. I hope you're all doing well, or as well as can be expected these days, but it's, we thank you for the time today. And, very excited to learn more about Noon Whistle. Matt will tell you more about that later, but just a little bit about Little City. A lot of you know Little City. Some of you are new to Little City. So we serve 1,400 families here in the Chicagoland area from birth in our foster care and adoption program in the city of Chicago to our seniors programs here in Schaumburg and Waukegan and Palatine. So we're a very large family, and we welcome the rest of you to our family. I want to thank our new associate board. This is their first event, and my understanding is that this may be our very first craft beer tasting. Anyway, so we're welcoming a new associate board team tonight, and you will meet them later for our first ever. And we're hoping maybe the first of many beer tasting events hosted by our associate board someday soon, hopefully in person, but for the next few months, we will live in a two-dimensional land. So I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to Matt from Noon Whistle, and then really sit back, enjoy the night. If you have questions, text them into the box, just how you introduced yourself. Please stay on mute, because with the crowd that we have tonight, it's hard to make sure that everyone gets their questions asked. But really, most important, just have a ton of fun. And Teresa and Matt, I'm going to throw it over to you right now.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our first ever beer tasting, like Jane said. We are so excited to be here. We're partnering with Noon Whistle, which if you guys haven't had their beers before, you are in for a treat. I'm here with Matt Cation, who is the taproom manager at the Lombard location of Noon Whistle, and also a level 1 Cicerone. So Matt, what does that mean? Level 1 Cicerone.
So similar to wine, there is a program for higher education on beer. So as somebody who studies wine, they would be a sommelier, which is something my brother does. But I'm a Cicerone level 1, so I'm working my way through the program, slowly becoming a master Cicerone, which just means that I know a lot about beer, whether that's styles of beer or flavors or off flavors. It just means that I have studied beer.
All right. Well, we are with the master here, so let's get ready for some fun. The way we're going to do this tasting is that we're going to start with the best beer.
Yeah, we'll start with best beer tonight.
And then we're going to go Cosmo, Fuzzy, and Bernie. So, yeah. All right, Matt, you want to take it over for the best beer?
So I wanted to make sure that if I was doing this in my own home, I would do the same order of beers. We're going to start a little lighter with the best beer. Best beer is traditionally brewed around Oktoberfest, obviously. It's a lighter style than the traditional Marzen, which is served in Munich at Oktoberfest from 1872 all the way through 1990. And in 1990, they made the decision to switch from the traditional Marzen, which is a higher gravity, higher ABV, sweeter, more powerful beer, to a little bit of a lesser of it. So best beer is something that usually sits around 5.5%, 6.5%. It's got the same characteristics, generally uses the same ingredients, but it's just a little bit less intense. which means when you're at Oktoberfest, you can have more than one or two. You can have several of these and continue to hang out and have all the beer, all the good times, and all the food that you can possibly have at Oktoberfest. Let's go ahead and crack one of those open. If you have it at home, it's this blue can right in front here with the checkered flags on the bottom, which is very similar to what you're going to see at Oktoberfest. This is something we started doing 3 years ago. For several years, we started brewing a Rauch beer, which is a very different style of German beer. It's a smoked beer. And this is just a little bit more appropriate for Oktoberfest. It's a lager style, which means it's going to sit in the tanks and just get delicious over a long period of time. So if you've got one of these, go ahead and crack that open and make sure you have a nice good taste. It's, like I said, it's low ABV, it's very sessionable. It means you can have a couple of these and still have a good time. Cheers. Oh man, I love this beer. So Oktoberfest is one of my favorite times of year, specifically because it encourages you to gather your friends and your family around, get together, and have a pint of a nice, sweet, but also subtle lager. Whereas a lot of times throughout the year, you're drinking wine or you're drinking a margarita on the patio with your friends and your family, but Oktoberfest is very specific to beer, very specific to the German culture, and it's something that we do here, I think, pretty well in the United States. Make sure if you have any comments, if you have any questions, go ahead and send us a message. Send it in the chat, because I'm here to answer anything you got. That's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So, like you said, throw us over your questions and comments.
The biggest thing that I have about this beer is like I just said before, the difference between a Marzen, which is that traditional Oktoberfest, which was around for about 100 years, and then transitioned into, in the 1990s, into this fest beer. I just think it's very interesting how for years and years and years and years and years, we took this high gravity, super boozy beer that was still sweet, malty, and delicious, and then took it down and said, okay, we're gonna give your little brother a little try here and let you enjoy this. The reason we started brewing is actually one of our assistant brewers. His name is Mike Payson. When it comes to lager style beers, he's amazing. He's also responsible for a beer we do called Shimmy, which is a Czech pale lager, which if you come around, you'll see. But it's light, it's flavorful. It's one of those beers that you can sit there and sip on and not get sick of the flavor, because it's not overly sweet, it's not overly hoppy, it's right there in the middle, and it's something that you can truly, truly, truly just drink several of if you need to.
So we actually had a question from Laura, who asked, how long does it normally have to sit in the barrel?
So a lager style beer generally takes, it's hard. That's a hard question to answer, because it's till it's ready. Specifically with us and our brewers, anything that they brew, it's not right till it's ready. So they'll sit there, and with a lager style beer, they'll taste it until they think they got it right. So when you pick it up and you look at it and you see how it's clear in color, that's not something that just happens overnight. When they're pulling it out of the mash tun and transferring it into the fermenters, it takes a little bit of time to get to this point. I think this year this one sat for anywhere between 9 and 10 weeks, somewhere in that range. But we've had lagers go, as short as 7, 8 weeks, all the way up to 10, 12 weeks, depending on when the beer speaks and when it's ready.
So we actually had another question come in from Eileen, who asked, can you explain why the lighter beer has a higher alcohol amount number than the others?
It's traditionally dependent on the amount of grain and malt that you put into that beer. So the more you throw in there, the more sugars are going to come out of the grain of the oats, the malts, depending on whatever beer you're making, whether it's a stout or an IPA or a lager. The more that you put in there, the more sugar content that you put into the tank, and then you have to boil out and then transfer that what's called wort into the fermenter. The more of the sugar content in that wort, the higher ABV the beer is going to be. So typically when you have these deeper, darker colors, specifically on maltier beers like Marzens and fest beers, you're going to get a higher alcohol content the deeper the color is. That's not a rule, per se, because in beer rules are meant to be broken, but it is a general rule of thumb. If it's a lager style beer or a maltier style beer, the deeper, darker the color it is, chances are the more malts in there, the higher ABV it's going to be.
Awesome. We had another question come in asking, what hops do you use for this beer? It's delicious.
So best beer, I think it's the Tang, which is a German style hop, but I'm not 100% because when it comes to these fest beers and these margins, it doesn't really matter as much what you're throwing in there. You want to put something in there that's very neutral, that doesn't overwhelm the flavor of the malt. With these, not all lager styles, but with these fest beers and these Oktoberfests, it's more about the malt and the grain that you throw in there than it is about the hops.
All right. One more question. Audra said, what temperature do you ferment this?
Oh, that's a great question for actually the brewers. I think that it's, what our brewers like to do is they like to continually drop it a couple of degrees at a time until they get it to the right price. So I think this one starts in the 70s and starts to drop lower and lower and lower. But I'm not actually 100% sure on that one because every year and every base that they do with it's slightly different. So like I can tell you a little bit more with the ales and then with the darker stuff because it's pretty consistent. But when it comes to the actual the fest beers and the margins, it changes from year to year. They have a set degree that they shoot for, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be that.
All right. Well, I think that was the last of our questions unless there's any more coming in last minute. All right. So while you guys finish off that taste, we're going to do our first raffle. So anyone who had this green topper on their beers, you guys are winners. Woo! Winner number 1 is going to receive a growler of their choice from either of the Noon Whistle locations, 2 pint glasses, a Little City hat, and a Little City long sleeve. So if you are winner number 1, type into the chat so we can celebrate you and make sure that you get your prize.
All right, congratulations.
So yeah, there's so many different options. So obviously we're only tasting 4 of Noon Whistle's options, but
that's true. Yeah, each location has 30 beers on tap. So there's a good chance that you're going to be able to find something a little bit different that's something for you as well. Like we're tasting 4 beers that we have here, and each one of these beers is indicative of the style that I carry a lot of. However, there's a lot of differences in between each individual beer. So congratulations, you just won yourself a growler of your choice.
I'm a big fan of the gummy series, as are a lot of people, so I will push for that.
The gummy series is something that we never intended on brewing. We brewed one time, and it went very well. So the gummy series is a series of New England-style IPAs. Generally, they're hazy or juicy IPAs, heavily dry hopped. You get a lot of citrusy, juicy flavors. Without the bitterness in your traditional West Coast style IPA, which most people are used to. When you think IPA, you think bitterness. Now with these gummies, it's about extracting the fruity flavors and the juicy flavors from the hops, which is one of the things that we're known for. So come on in. I've got, I think, 6 on tap right now. Sticky gummy, paranormal gummy, ghost face gummy, which is my favorite. It's got ghost peppers and mangoes in there. Squishy gummy, don't worry gummy. Shoot, I got lots of those right now. So come on in, get one of those.
And they're ultimately always changing, right?
Yeah. My draft list changes week to week. We generally try and have 2 releases a week. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 3. But it doesn't matter if it's a light beer, a lager style, a pale ale, a hazy IPA, a stout, a sour. I've always got something on tap here for you that you're going to enjoy. And if you don't know what you like, and you just want to come in and taste things, I'm always happy, and so are my bartenders, my servers. Everybody's always happy to help me try and find something you do like. That's something we like about beer is that there's always something that you can find. Whether it's just you don't like bitter flavors, but you really like things that are fruity, we'll find that for you. We've got that, we brew it, and we're happy to have you come in.
Awesome. All right, well, we're still waiting on winner number 1. So if that's you, make sure you type it on into the chat so we can get you your raffle prize. But we won't wait any longer to try beer number 2, which is the Cosmo.
All right, so Cosmo, which is this one right here with the orange and yellow label. Cosmo is one, it's not the first beer we ever made, but it is one of the first beers we ever made. Style is just a traditional American pale ale. The story behind the name is actually quite a fun one. It is We have 3 owners here at New Whistle, Jim, Mike, and Paul. They've all been friends since they were little. Mike, his nickname through high school and through there was Cosmo, and he actually had this car called the Cosmo Mobile. It was an '83 tan Chevy Celebrity with the ceiling drooping down. But that's where this beer came from in the beginning stage, where its name came from. It is probably the beer that I drink the most out of anything that we make because it's super sessionable, super crushable. It's just the right amount of bitter and the right amount of citrus, at least for my palate. Outside of the gummy series, I believe it's the beer we sell the most. This is a beer you'll find just about anywhere. You can find this at Jewel. We're in most Jewels. By the beginning of the spring of next year, we'll be in over 100 Jewels. We'll have, this is in just about everywhere that you can think you can buy beer. You're going to be able to find Cosmo. But like I said, this is the beer that I think I drink the most. It is a blend of hops called Falconer's Flight, indigenous to the Pacific Northwest. Specifically, we get the hops for this one from Yakima Chief, which is out in Yakima Valley, Washington, obviously. So when you think of this blend of hops, you think of the 7 Cs, which is Cascade, Centennial, Chinook, Citra, Cluster, Columbus, and Crystal. It's a whole bunch of different hops. But what they do is they take these hops and they blend them together to make Falconer's Flight, and that's the primary blend we use for this. We round out with a little bit of a power on the back end to make it a little bit smoother. But this beer is, like I said, probably the thing I drink the most out of any of them, and for good reason. So if you've got this in front of you, go ahead and grab it, pour yourself a little glass, let's taste it together. And let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're tasting. Let me know what you got going on, and compare some notes. So right off the bat, when you put it up to your nose and give it a little sniff, you get a little bit of a grapefruity tone, a little bit of citrus, and then a little bit of dryness, which is something that I find appealing in this particular brew, and I also find particularly great the crispness and the clearness of it, because a lot of the time when you put the amount of hops that we put in this, it's not going to be quite as clear or crisp as it is coming straight out of the tap, straight out of the can. It's something that I find appealing in most of my beers, but not all of them. What we'd like to see on the colors, it's got a subtle orange hue, and that comes a lot from the malts, which is important. The other thing that I really like about this beer is how sessionable it is. It is 5%, which is standard, right in the middle, right where you want it to be. Actually, fun fact about New Whistle, when we started brewing beer here, all it was about session beers. We weren't trying to brew beers that are over 5% or 5.5%. These are beers that we wanted to brew for people to drink as many as they wanted to at their family party, out in the backyard with their friends, out at the lake. That's what we do. We still do lots of those beers. A lot of the beers that we do are in that same style. In fact, all of the beers that we're tasting today are in that similar sessionable style. But we also have branched out and do bigger beers, wild beers, hazy IPAs, which if anybody tells you that you get a hazy IPA that's 5%, they're lying to you. It's a lie.
We actually had one of our staff tell us that their husband thought we were lying with our cans because they thought that Noon Muscle does not sell 12-ounce beers, only 16 ounce.
Fun fact: a majority of our cans are 16-ounce cans. However, we wanted to stick with this 12-ounce format for a lot of our sessionable beers because those are the beers that you're going to bring to the party. Those are the beers you're going to bring to the ball game. Those are the beers that you're going to bring to your parents' house, your friend's house, the backyard. The 16-ounce cans are great, and especially for those hazier, juicier beers because you get a lot of the flavor, a lot of the aroma. You want more of that. But with these sessionable beers, we want you to sit around and have a couple cans, sit around the fire pit. Let's have a good time with your friends and family.
Yeah, your 16 ounces pack a punch. I've
Yeah.
had one a time or two.
Yeah, once or twice. This one's available year-round. We make this, I would say they probably put a batch of Cosmo in the tanks every single week. Like I said, it's probably our most, outside of the gummy series, we sell more Cosmo than just about anything else for good reason.
Well, we have had a few questions come through.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Lizzie wants to know, where do the barley, malt, and hops come from?
A lot of this is all just American made. So We get generally from two companies. The one that we get the most from is a company called Muttons. In fact, the silo that we have over in Naperville is primarily filled with Muttons. We have a lovely distributor named Sven, and he comes in and makes sure that we're taken care of and we get everything that we need. So that's where most of our stuff comes from. It's just from the heartlands.
So Muttons is an area, or Muttons?
No, Muttons is a company.
Okay.
Muttons is the vendor we use specifically for that. I would say most of this probably comes from the Midwest.
Okay, awesome. Next we have Lauren, who asks,
Hi, Lauren.
what's your favorite hop to use in an IPA?
Ooh, so that's a loaded question. We brewed a beer. There's two. My favorite hops are Galaxy and Nelson Sauvin. Those are both from the Southern Hemisphere. They're both from either Galaxy's from Australia and Nelson Sauvin is from New Zealand. They're not easy to get hops. They're not inexpensive, but we brew with them as frequently as you can. Fun fact, we have a beer right now at both locations called Sticky Gummy. It was not brewed for my wedding. However, it came out the first time for my wedding, and we bought so many cases of that beer. It was probably the most drank. We got married in a brewery, my wife and I, and that we probably drank more of that beer than anything else, and it wasn't even that brewery's beer. So I would say if I had to pick one, it would be Galaxy, but you can't make me pick one. It would be Galaxy and Nelson Sauvin, just specifically because I like the notes that those hops give off in an IPA. They're a little bit dankier, a little bit grassier, a little bit earthier, not quite as sweet and floral as you would get from something like a Citra or Mosaic. But yeah, Galaxy and Nelson Sauvin are top two, and I don't think it's even close past that.
All right. Then we have another question that came in from Hatch, who
Hello.
wants to know, why don't they use the pull tabs anymore?
Because we can't get them anymore. So we got those from a company in the city. They own the patent on that, and they are no longer making them. So if somebody wants to buy the patent off of them and start a manufacturing company and then manufactures these lids, I will make you a very rich man or woman. That is something that we very much want to do. We haven't abandoned the idea. If somebody comes out and says we'll start selling those, we'll go back to that in a heartbeat. We love those specifically for our hop forward beers because you don't have to pour it into a glass. You can get the aroma straight from the pull tab. You can get all the flavors you need without even having to grab a glass. And that's something that we thoroughly wish we could continue to have. But unfortunately, we can't get them. Otherwise, we would have them.
Next question is from Jane, who asks, why did we start with a lager first and then move to the ale?
It's all about a matter of personal preference. I tend to like to start on the sweeter and maltier side of things and progress forward into the hop bitterness. Whereas we'll go into Fuzzy Smack next, which is a Berliner Weiss, which is something, it's a little bit more of a tart and sour beer, which will help us cleanse our palate till we get to the roasty, dark, chocolatey flavors of Burning Decks. So it has more to do with the order in which I want to drink these going forward than specifically starting with Best Beer. Best Beer just happened to be the one that I thought would lead the best. Generally, when you're doing a beer tasting, at least for me, I like to have something that'll cleanse the palate in the third or fourth beer rather than have something that's going to continue to muddle the palate. So rather than lead with a hoppy beer or a tart beer, I wanted to lead with something a little bit lighter, a little bit cleaner, something that wouldn't confuse your palate just as much.
And our last question is from Leanne, who asked if you guys have any flavored beer. Like, I am not a Cercerone, so I might completely vouch this thing, like Creek Lambic.
Fun fact, I love creeks. So creeks are actually something that is one of the major factors that got me into working in craft beer. Actually, I can name the beer. It was New Belgium's Transatlantic Creek, which is something that they do with somebody in Belgium. We will be doing creeks, actually, with this location transitioning from being a primary production facility into something that's more using wild techniques, spontaneous fermentation. Creeks is something we're definitely going to do here. We do a lot of flavored beers. In fact, the Fuzzy Smack that you taste next is a peach flavored beer. We have a vanilla red I just put on tap today, so you get some vanilla flavors. I have a mango hazy IPA on tap right now. I have a peach beer called right near the Peach Boy. It's got about 17 E's on it. That's coming out in about 2 weeks. Next week I have a coffee stout called Dodging Traffic and a vanilla coffee stout. So we do a lot of different flavored beers. If you're looking for specifically that wild or spontaneous fermented beers, I've got a lot coming down the pipeline right now. Last year around our anniversary time, which is January, we released something called Beauregard, which is a blackberry and plum wild beer, something I thought was fantastic. A lot of fruity flavors, very tart, very acidic, but that's where we want it to be. And using those same base for that, we have something coming out. We haven't picked a date on it yet. We're waiting for it to be just right. Like I said, our brewers want to make sure things are just the way they want it. But that one's coming out, same base as Beauregard, but with passion fruit coming out. That's actually sitting in a barrel straight over that way. Lovely French white oak barrel that previously held some Chardonnay. I'm pretty stoked about that. So we do a lot of that stuff. Just keep your eye out. In fact, if you want to go on Untapped right now, we're onto our website, and you can look and have any one of those beers anytime you want. Come in and see me here at Lombard. I will take care of you.
One more question came through. Do you guys have any coconut flavored beers?
We do. What's that?
Oh,
My wife's favorite beer that we make is called Gummy Colada. Gummy Colada is a New England style IPA with coconut and pineapple. It's not something that I personally enjoy. I'm not a coconut fan, but my wife, I swear to God, every time we make this beer, which was 4 times this year, she made me come home with a case. I'm not talking about a 6-pack. I'm talking about a case. That's 24 of them. We also throw some coconut in some different styles and some other playful things here and there throughout the year. There's usually one-off kegs or a very small batch of bottles, but we will always, every single year, look for it, usually starting in April and then all the way through up until August. We'll do Gummy Colada. It's something that, like I said, not my favorite. But if we didn't make it, my wife might divorce me.
So we're glad that you continue to make it.
Yeah, me too. Thank God. Thank God.
We had one more question come in from Audra, who asked, with all of the different kinds of beers we have,
Yes.
how many brewers do you have on staff?
So we have our head of brewing, his name is Paul Kreiner, and we've got Nick Wisniewski. He is our brewmaster and head brewer, and then we've got Matt Johnson and Michael Payson. Those are our assistant brewers, as well as 2 cellarmen, and then we have several people on our packaging team, and we're consistently going to be adding things as we continue to grow. One thing that I think is very impressive about our company over the last several years is our growth. We've gone from a space, I mean, you saw it, over there we had almost no space. The space that we're sitting in right now is brand new. We've used it for 1 event. We've only had this entire operation open for, well, we've been around for 6 years, but we expanded heavily over the last year and a half, adding a 30,000 square foot spot in Naperville, and then taking our 5,000 square foot brewery tap room and turning it into a 15,000 square foot tap room and tasting room for people to come in, hang out, talk to us, have some beers. We added a kitchen. We're growing like crazy, so that's something I'm very proud of. It's something that I think is really cool.
That's awesome. Who knows where you'll be this time next year?
Hopefully here, drinking some beers with you guys in this room.
We actually had one more question come in.
Awesome, let's hear it.
Steve asked, so tonight, I get we're switching a lot, but in an ordinary night out, what are your thoughts on sticking with one beer versus switching amongst beer throughout the night?
That is a total personal preference thing. Personally, I usually switch around and try as many different things as possible. A lot of the things that I do as far as drinking has a lot to do with me working in this industry. I like to taste what other people are doing. I like to see what they're doing different, what that we can do better. I'm consistently comparing our beer to other people's, which is extremely relevant because I have a collection of beers that is 500-600 bottles deep. We've got a ton of stuff at our house that we're constantly collecting, constantly tasting, constantly trying, because it's something that we're passionate about. However, if you go out and you find a beer you like, you drink that. You drink as much of it as you want, specifically if it's a Noon Whistle beer, but I'm not biased or anything. But generally speaking, when I go out, we go to a place that we can try as many as we can possibly have. My wife and I, we've been on 4 beer vacations in the last couple of years, and we go out and we try as many as we can. And I'm not saying we have pint after pint after pint after pint. We're not trying to do that. What I'm trying to say is we'll go out and we'll get 8 beers in short format, like these 5 ounces right here, and taste them all, and then we'll have 1 or 2 of the ones that we generally like. Like I said, we're trying to find things that are different, things that are new, things that appeal to my palate, to her palate, and just kind of grow on that. Our honeymoon was a beer vacation in Grand Rapids. We went to 22, 23 breweries in 5 days.
That's huge.
Never, ever drinking the same thing.
That's awesome. All right, you guys were great with questions. Keep them coming. This makes it so much more fun and interactive.
Yeah, please ask all the questions you want. I'm here to answer anything that I can possibly answer for you. This is fun for me, so let's do it.
So we're going to give you a few minutes to finish up those tastings, drink a little bit more of what you're loving, which is probably both of them. And we're going to take some time to introduce you guys to our associate board, celebrate them. They are the masterminds behind this entire event, and we're so thankful for them. So we're going to start with one of our co-chairs, Laura, and have her introduce herself.
Laura, I think you're muted. Myself, the reason why I joined Little City was once I got introduced with Little City, I instantly fell in love. It's not just like a community, it's almost like a family, and the way that they support each other and really kind of make a difference. I kind of fell in love with the mission of Little City, and I look forward to continue to be involved with the process. It's just a great organization to be a part with. Everyone is very supportive, and I think you guys should continue to learn more, and if you're interested in joining our board, we would love to have you. One thing for me, my favorite beer, I would say, is actually wit beer. So that's like my favorite type of beer, but now I think I have a couple more other favorites. So I want to pass it off to my co-chair, who is Kyle.
Yeah, thanks, Laura, and thank you everybody for being with us tonight and trying some good beers. My name's Kyle Prentice. As Laura mentioned, I'm also a co-chair of the associate board. My hometown is Oswego, Illinois, and I now live in Chicago's Lincoln Park. Favorite beer is hard for me because I don't know if I really have one. I love trying different beers, especially if they're from local Chicago breweries and tap rooms. And then my reason for getting involved with Little City or having interest in assisting the organization was really stemmed from attending the annual gala in April of 2019, where I had the opportunity to hear stories and experiences from residents and their families of Little City in person, which is really inspiring to me. And I have some personal connections that have, struggles with disabilities, like the folks that Little City serves and supports. So that was really inspiring to me, and knew it was something that I could have an impact on. So thank you again for being here tonight, and I'm going to kick it over to Ryan.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan. I'm the newest member of the board here. I've been here for a little under a month now. So I grew up in the Roselle area, Schaumburg, local. I went to high school in Arlington Heights. So I actually, started about a month ago looking for some type of charity to kind of get involved in. And growing up throughout my entire life, in grade school and high school, I worked for a charity, on the side called Midwest Council for Children with Disabilities. So as I was kind of looking around for something to help out, I saw Little City. I said, hey, this is perfect. It's something I've worked with my whole life, and I'd love to be involved in. And then I think last thing I should tell you is my favorite beer I've ever had is Paulaner, which I actually had in Oktoberfest in Germany. I've also brewed my own beer twice. It has not gone well. I'd like to think it did, but probably not as good as the ones we're having here today. Now I'm going to pass it off to Lauren here.
Hey everyone, it's Lauren here. I am from Chicago, and I am Teresa's little sister. I actually learned about Little City because of her, but I did do a lot of work with Misericordia in grade school, and then Best Buddies in college. So when I learned about the associate board, Teresa gave me a little insight on what we'd be doing. I thought, it'd be interesting to get involved with Little City a little bit more deeply, and especially as an adult. There's not as many opportunities. to volunteer unless you put yourself out there. So I joined last November, and it's been awesome learning about the organization. I love that they allow anyone, especially those who have intellectual and developmental disabilities, to live their most fulfilling lives. And I'm right on board with their mission. In terms of beer, I actually just got into beer this year, and I'd have to say I'm a big IPA person. If I had to choose IPA or double IPA, but I'm really liking the Cosmo, so we'll see. I'm going to pass it off to Jenna.
Okay, hi guys. So I'm Jenna Mosca. I'm originally from the Libertyville, Vernon Hills area, North Shore area, but I did get out of the suburbs and I currently live in the city right now. So I have a close connection with Little City. My brother actually lived at Little City for years. He grew up there. So, but I joined the associate board to simply just be a part of creating these opportunities for these kids and adults with developmental disabilities and the Little City community as a whole. So that's my reason. As far as beer, I'd say my favorite type of beer is a good IPA. Don't ask me to choose which type. We'd probably be here all night, but a good IPA is definitely my go-to.
So those are our associate board members. We are actively recruiting for more people to join us if you feel inspired by the work that we do. So stay tuned for some more information later on in the evening. But now I know what you guys really want to do, and that's try more beers. So our next beer is
the Fuzzy Smack.
Fuzzy Smack. So crack that open.
Fuzzy Smack is going to be the one that's right over on the end. It's the orange and white can. It is something that we enjoy making here because we enjoy these sour, tart, not quite super acidic style of beers. It started off with us brewing this beer called Face Smack back when we were just like a really new brewery. It's a straight Berliner Weiss. A Berliner Weiss is a traditional style of beer, which is something that a lot of people don't know we do around here. We do a lot of traditional style beers. The first one, obviously being this Berliner Weiss named Face Smack and transitioning into Fuzzy Smack, but also our Lisa Weppe, which is a Hefeweizen, our beer, all sorts of different beers that are your traditional styles, which is something we really truly care about. Fuzzy Smack came about 3 years ago, 2.5. Me and one of the owners, Mike, were just going back and forth talking about this earlier today. I was like, when did we start brewing Fuzzy? And it happened, I want to say 3 years ago. We were talking about how we could potentially find a way to make our Berliner Weiss taste even better, and how we can transition it into be more of a full-time, year-round piece out in the market. And that ended up being, let's add some fruit to it. We started by just playing around in the tap room and having Face Smack with Woodruff and raspberry syrup available, which is something that is very traditional over in Germany and in Belgium, where anyone's brewing this style of beer. And we did that in the tap room, and it's great. I'm like, well, what if we tried some sort of peach flavor? And the first time we did it, like, this tastes great. But hold on a second. What if we had just a touch of apricot? And it turned out to be this absolutely fantastic Berliner Weiss that we've been brewing year-round ever since. This is not one of those beers that you can find at Vinny's, you can find this at Jewel, you can find this at Meyer, you can find this at your local mom and pop shop. You can find this at a lot of places that are carrying this style of draft beer. It's something that we're passionate about, something we'll never stop doing, are these sour style beers, specifically the kettle sours, the ones that we don't have to throw wild yeast into or let sit in barrels for a year or 2 years to make, like our Beauregard, or like that passion fruit beer I was talking about earlier, or like a Creek, or something we fill our food with. This is something that we make, I don't want to say weekly, because I don't know the actual frequency that they brew it, but it's often. Before we even got to Fuzzy Smack, though, what we started brewing was a whole bunch of different riffs off this series, which was Smack That, which I have in cans right now. It's a dry hop sour. So those of you like those hoppier, pale beers, that's something that you'll like. Or the Black Sour, Smack This, or Bourbon Smack. I think you're probably sensing a trend here. If you're finding something funky from us, something sour, something tart, it's probably going to have Smack in the name. It's just something that I prefer to have, like we were talking about earlier with the orders of beers. I prefer to have those Berliner Weisses, those tart, more acidic beers as my third or fourth beer because it'll help cleanse that palate. It'll help you understand. It'll help take that hot flavor profile that you've got on your tongue, that you've got in your mouth, just take it away, and it'll cleanse the palate and allow you to start drinking something a little bit darker, a little bit smoother, anything off of that. So if you got one of those in front of you, make sure you grab it. Let's cheers and enjoy.
Cheers.
God, I love that beer. Don't drink enough of that. If you have any questions about Berliner Weisses, traditional styles, fruited beers, things like that, please let me know. I'm happy to answer anything that I can for you.
We've actually had a flood of questions come in.
Let's
Are you
do
ready?
it.
All right. So first question we have is from Jane, who asks, why are you using the stem beer glasses now?
So actually, what we're using right now are these 5-ounce taster glasses. We don't use stem glasses for everything. I have 6 or 7 different glasses that I use in-house right now in my tap room, and they're ever-changing. Stemmed glasses don't always have to happen. In fact, the glass this is traditionally served in, I don't have here, almost looks like a stemless wine glass. It's a 14-ounce rounded glass. It's got the word smack on the front of it, whereas my IPAs, I generally use those in a stemmed glass. Every single beer style that you have can have a specific style, but honestly, as long as it's following a pattern, it's allowing you to breathe that beer in, it's allowing you to taste the beer at its fullest potential. That's what you want.
Another person asked, Sue asked,
Hi, Sue.
how long have you guys been in business?
We've been here almost 6 years now. So we started around the holiday time in December of 2015 now, 2014. However that works out. I'm not good. But we started working here right around the holiday time. We opened up a couple of times before the holidays and then really started going into it right after New Year's. So we've been in here for almost 6 years now, and we have grown a lot. I'm not sure if any of you have ever been here prior to our expansion, but we were small. We were a little spot. We had filled our space with as much possible equipment as we possibly could. We've outgrown that. So I'm very proud of what we've done over the last 6 years. I've only been here about 4 years now, but I'm not going anywhere. So come hang out. Let's go drink some beers.
I mean, just from what I know, and this was from a couple years ago with Frosty, but you guys just had the food trucks, you can serve food, and now you have a full kitchen.
Yeah, we've got a kitchen now.
Expanded another storefront.
Yes, so in the last year alone, we've gone from like I said before, we were doing the 5,000 square foot spot to over 45,000 square feet as a company, including the kitchen we've got here, which has got some awesome flatbreads and handhelds, charcuterie, the candied bacon. If you can get in here and get some of that candied bacon, oh my God. He's got bourbon on there. Oh my God. I'm getting hungry. But yeah, so they do a really, really good job here in the kitchen, as well as my bartenders. There's something that I think we excel well here, and that's just making sure that everyone comes through here, has a good time, has a beer that they like. We want to make sure you're taken care of. We want to make sure that you're drinking something that makes you happy, whether that's our beer or one of the, I think we got 6 or 7 wines and seltzer, the ciders I got on tap. I make beer slushies on the weekend. We want to make sure that anybody who comes through these doors have a good time.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a great time, so I hope you are too. We have another question from Brews, who
Hi,
asks,
Bruce.
are there any beers that you always have available?
Yeah, so we've got several year-round beers. Fuzzy Smack is one of those beers right here. We've got Cosmo year-round, Bernie's year-round. We have got Liesel Weapon, our German-style Hefeweizen, which if I get a chance to, I'll go back into the back real quick and grab our medal. Liesel Weapon is a beer that I am proud of because it took third at GABF last year. If you don't know what GABF is, it's the Great American Beer Fest. It is quite possibly the most prestigious beer festival and beer competition outside of FOBAB, which is held in the city in the world. And we took third for our German-style Hefeweizen at it last year. It's something I'm proud of, something our brewers are very proud of. That's available year-round. Hot Prison Blue is another IPA. Some people might call it a double IPA. We don't care about the labels. Just don't care. But Hot Prison Blue is a traditional American-style IPA. It's not quite super bitter and piney like the West Coast, but it's not juicy and hoppy and flavorful like a New England style. It's kind of right there in the middle. If you're drinking an IPA in Chicago and it's from Chicago, that's an American IPA. We've got those 5 for sure, plus several others which will be coming out in the next several months that will continue to brew over and over and over. Not to mention our seasonal beers. We brew things specifically on the season every single year. Our hazies are that same fashion.
We have another question from Kyle, who wants to know, how did Noon Whistle come up with the logo and the design of the can?
Oh, I love this. So Noon Whistle's name, we'll start with the name. It actually came from our head brewer, Paul's family. So originally we were supposed to be Troika Brewing. Troika Brewing is, I believe in Ukrainian or Russian, it means three, which is important to one of the members of the ownership's family. However, that was owned by a Russian vodka company in the United States, so we couldn't get a trademark or a patent on it. So we went to Noon Whistle, and Noon Whistle came about because Paul, our head brewer, and his family, he's one of the owners, they go to a town in Wisconsin, which we're not this week, or no, sorry, 2 weeks with the same premise. But anyways, there's a town whistle that goes up at noon every single day. And that means that you can start drinking beer at noon.
Wait, what town is that?
It's a great question. But yeah, you can start, that was the thing that they did. So every time they go on holiday every single year. They call it holiday. It's their whole family. It's the cousins, it's the grandchildren, it's your aunts, your uncles. It's the whole family. They do it every single year. And then it ended up just coming up with Noon Whistle. And then the logos came, the first original clock logo came from it being a Noon Whistle. And then the circle logo, because it's pretty frickin' sweet, am I right?
Sure is. So unknowingly, you even asked Ryan's question, which he was wondering where Noon Whistle came from.
Oh yeah, sorry
You're
Ryan.
very efficient.
Sorry Ryan.
No. We have one more question from Laura, who wants to know, how many beers are you brewing at one time at the brewery?
So that's hard to say because we have so many different things going on in barrels, as you can see. That is probably 10 or 12 different blends over there. In the tanks here, in the fooder, we've got one big blend. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got another 5 here, and then in Naperville, we've got probably another 16 or so tanks. So it could vary from 20 different beers to us having 10 different beers we're brewing multiples of. Every week, it's a different story.
Awesome. All right, well, that was the last of our questions for this beer. We are going to do our second raffle. So again, you guys had the green topper. Look under it. It should be winner number 2. And winner number 2 gets a growler of your choice from Noon Whistle, 2 pint glasses, and a Little City Hero sweatshirt. As modeled by one of our best artists, John King. I'm sure you'll look slightly less better in the sweatshirt than he does, but it's a great sweatshirt, and you'll rock it. So
I'm telling you, John's killing it right there.
yeah, John is one of our kings of Little City. So all
All
right, if you guys have the winner number 2 under your green lid, please let us know. Ian. Oh, so our winner is Ian. So yay, Ian!
Congratulations, Ian.
We will get your prize to you. Awesome.
That growler, they've got a certificate for you. You can bring in a ticket to the lawnmower to the Naperville location, whichever is closest to you. All you got to do is bring that in, and they'll make sure you get taken care of.
Awesome.
And if they don't, you tell them they can talk to Matt.
Yeah, Matt Patient. So you let them know. Name drop that.
Please do. I'm here. If you're ever in the area and you want to come say hello, I am here more than I'm not. So come say hello. Come hang out. Let's have some beers together. I'm here for that. That's what I do. That's what I live for. I'm happy for that.
Awesome. So, and our final beer is the Bernie Milk Stout.
That is correct.
All right.
Bernie's another one of those beers we do year-round, but we do a bunch of different variations of it. Just as the base, Bernie is a beer that it's malty, it's roasty, it's chocolatey, it's a stout. It's meant to be that way. It's smooth, the subtle sweetness. I'm not sure how many of you are super familiar with the brewing process, but there is a compound called lactose, which is used very frequently in the brewing world right now. I'm very proud of this fact as somebody who's moderately lactose intolerant. We use it in 3 beers a year. That's it. A lot of places use it a lot more. This is a beer that utilize that lactose to get that creamy, milky mouthfeel. It's meant to be that last beer you have at night. It's a dessert-style beer. It's a beer that takes on flavor well. It's a beer that you can pair with just about any dessert that can be possible. I can tell you, I put pie in this beer. I put cookies in this beer. I put ice creams on the top of this beer, and just the base by itself, it's delicious. In a tap room, I commonly have it on nitro. I commonly have it on tap as well as in cans to go, growlers. If I don't have this beer, it's usually a problem. It's very complex, but it's not very filling. It's smooth and roasty and chocolatey without being those opposite flavors you expect. It's without having that innate bitterness, without having that mouthfeel that it's very off-putting. It's very smooth and sweet and just where you want it to be. For the end of that, if I had to pick one beer, and only one beer to have in my fridge outside of Cosmo, it would probably be Bernie. The name from this beer actually came from our head brewer, Paul. His father's name is Bernie. In fact, when I finish talking here, I'm going to go get him. We got Little Bernie in the back. Little Bernie is a fathead that we made of Bernie himself that sits in my office literally 24/7.
So how does Bernie feel about that?
Bernie loves it. Bernie loves
okay.
this. You know who doesn't love this is Roberta. Roberta is Paul's father, and I'm pretty sure she wants a beer named after her.
Roberta,
I'm sorry, it's Paul's mother.
Okay.
Sorry, it's Paul's mother. And
I don't know. I could be too common.
no, it's Paul's mother, and I'm pretty sure we should name a beer after her. If Paul's watching, you should name a beer after your mom. Just saying. But yeah, he's very proud of that. Bernie's around here from time to time. Usually comes in with a group of his friends, and they sit around the table, have some beers, and have a good time, which is what English is here for. Speaking of variations, several times a year we do different variations of Bernie, whether it's the Imperial version, the barrel-aged version, or on St. Patrick's Day we usually do 5 or 6 different versions of Bernie. Like in previous year, we have a player here who also he sells Kellogg's for a living, so we had a bunch of Pop-Tart inspired Bernie, where we threw s'mores Pop-Tarts and brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts and Rice Krispies, chocolate covered Rice Krispies in there. Let it infuse, and we poured that through. We've done Nutter Burner Bernie, Lucky Charms Bernie, Irish Coffee Bernie, Vanilla Bernie. You name it, if we could put it in Bernie, we're going to put it in Bernie because this is a beer that takes on flavor. In fact, I've had entire parties at my house where all I do is bring home cases of Bernie, take a French press, put whatever I want the Bernie to taste like, press it down, and drink that Bernie. That's a candied bacon Bernie. I mean, come on now. Let's go, folks. Put something in your Bernie. If you got something at home that's sweet and delicious, put it in your Bernie. Let's cheers together and enjoy this beer, all right? So when I taste this one, I taste the smoothness, the milkiness, the sweetness, but also the very subtle, roasty, chocolatey notes that I don't think I can do without. I'm a stout boy, what can I say?
That was delicious.
Right?
I'm usually not a stout or dark beer drinker.
Right.
But I can get down with some Bernie.
Yeah, right. Bernie's one of those very approachable stouts. Stouts can be a little bit intimidating to some people, and it doesn't have to be. They don't have to be big, high ABV, scary stouts, which again, I'm a fan of. But they don't have to be. They can be light. They can be sessionable. They can be something you sit around a campfire, toast some s'mores, and drink it with a can of Bernie and just have a good time with your friends. And that's what this beer is meant for. That's what we do around here. We just want you to hang out, enjoy some time with your friends and family.
Yeah. So actually, this question is from me.
Oh,
I'm
what we got?
wondering. So you mentioned nitro versus tap.
Yeah.
What is the difference between those?
So there's there's multiple different types of carbonated beer, but the two major ones are nitro and CO2. And nitro tends to create smaller bubbles in the beer. So like, I wish I had a better head on this. So if you look very closely, let me get up to this one. If you look very closely at the top of these two beers, this one has significantly smaller bubbles, whereas the Fuzzy Smack, the bubbles are much larger and more pronounced. That impacts how you drink the beer. What you're looking for with the nitro beer is you're trying to make it just a little bit more smooth, a little bit silkier and smoother on the mouthfeel, whereas the traditional beer is all CO2, and that's going to be a little bit more big and bold. We have 2 beers on nitro almost at all times here in New Whistle. I've got nitro Bernie on almost all the time because I want nitro Bernie on all the time, as well as it's just a delicious beer. And then I actually got a beer we came out with today called Hipsters versus Lumberjacks. It's a vanilla oat red ale, which is another one of those beers that's silky and smooth and very delicious in my opinion. But we like to put that one on nitro as well because those real small bubbles pick up on the Tahitian vanilla that we put in there very, very well.
How about that?
It's all about the mouthfeel, people. Mouthfeel. Word of the day.
Wait, explain that. What is the mouthfeel?
So mouthfeel is something that when you're tasting beer, you want to know a little bit about. It's how that it goes down in your mouth, how it feels in your mouth, or how the lacing on your glass. Where if you turn your glass to the side, if you got Bernie in there, you'll see a little bit of residue going back and forth versus a beer that has almost no carbonation left in it, like this fuzzy smack that's in here. It doesn't sit on the rim of the glass as much. It's just about how it goes down and how it feels in your mouth, whether it's silky and smooth. That's such a lame term to say, how it feels in your mouth.
No.
But that's true. How silky and smooth, how powerful the flavors are, and how it tastes for you.
The mouthfeel. We had a question from Jane who wants to know, is there a specific way that you pour the Bernie, kind of like as you do a Guinness?
Not quite as dropped as you would do a Guinness. A true Guinness drop beer should take a long time to pour. I mean, it really should take a long time to pour because we want to make sure you get that perfect. This is not quite a drought beer, but yeah, it takes a little bit longer for a nitro pour than it does a CO2 pour. I've typically got this one on a much lower carbonation rate when it comes out of the back. Depending on how long your lines are and what's going on with your with the carbonation of your beer, I typically like to have mine around 10 to 15 psi, whereas I've got this nitro significantly lower because I want it to pour a little bit slower, a little bit smoother, and I want those bubbles to really make their way through the beer. Whereas a CO2 beer, you got it on 10, 15 psi. There's already CO2 in the carbon in the beer, so we just want it to do its thing. Whereas with this nitro beer, I really, really, really want those bubbles to come through and play a part in how you're enjoying the beer.
So you mentioned PSI.
Yeah.
And I think that's a brewer lingo.
Yeah.
So for us laymen over here, what is PSI?
It's basically the pounds of pressure, that's your pounds per square inch of pressure that's put through the beer.
Okay.
So when you got this line of, you got this keg sitting right here, right? And you want the beer to come from here all the way to over there, you need to find some sort of pressure to push that through. Generally speaking, that's CO2, and you have to put out pounds of pressure per square inch.
All right. Now we're in the know now.
Right, we're learning things.
We had a question from Jenny who wants to know, Cosmo Tail is everywhere. Are you adding more to your distribution or would you substitute it out?
Yes, we are. Cosmo's not going anywhere. I was just talking actually to one of our owners, Mike, earlier today, and not only is Cosmo growing, Gumby's growing, Fuzzy Snack's growing, Lisa Weapons growing, Bernie's growing. In fact, we were talking about spring resets, which in our industry, resets means they're changing the set of the cooler in your grocery stores. We're going to have Lisa Weapon and Hot Prism Blue and Cosmo and Fuzzy Snack and all those in your Jewels and your Myers and your Marianos, all those spots that they're not currently now in the spring. So yeah, we're growing. We're not, Cosmo's not going anywhere. We're just adding to the portfolio. Specifically, like I was talking about earlier, the one that I like, that I'm excited more about is that Lisa Weapon. I'm very happy to have that continually growing in the market. That's a Hefeweizen, which for most of you that are traditional with German and their traditional styles, that is one of the German styles. It is very, it's yeast forward and wheat forward, not so much about the hops. It has a lot of clovey and banana-like flavors that come from the yeast, but also flavors that's of bubble gum if you get it right. Like it's truly great, and that's another one of those styles that you can get. Even in Germany, there's range in the flavor profiles. You can have South German Hefeweizen and North German Hefeweizen, and they can taste similar but still different. I'm very proud of that beer. We as a company are. In fact, if you come to our brewery, there's a giant pair of red overalls hanging. If you find them, I'll buy you a beer.
Oh.
Those things are great. That's one of the things we won for this South German South Hefeweizen at GABF last year, and we're super proud of it.
Yay. So it's a Where's Waldo kind of game.
Yeah, do you find that? You come tell me.
Right over. All right. So anyone who gets one of the growlers, we're going to challenge them.
Yeah.
All of our raffle winners, we're challenging them to find the red overall.
You come and find those overalls and come see me.
Awesome. We have a question coming from Kyle, who wants to know, do any of the Noon whistles have local Chicago area inspiration or ingredient?
A lot of the things that we do are locally inspired. Our kitchen is locally inspired. If you talk about just the coffee beers we use, just focusing on one minute small portion of the coffee of the beers that we brew with the coffee is we find the most local roasters that we can find. In fact, we use more 5 and Hope, which is out of Wheaton, than anything else. It's a little bit of Tugboat, a little bit Dark Manor, which is out in Chicago, but even the fruits that we use, or the purees we use, they're from Chicago-based companies. We try and get as many hops as we can locally as possible. There's not a lot that comes out of Illinois. We use some Michigan hops. We try and be as local as possible when it comes to just about everything.
Another question came in from Laura, who wants to know what type of beer is the most complex or hard to make, and which one is the longest to make?
I think those both fall into the same category. I would say it's either a barrel-aged style of beer. My personal favorite style of beer is a barley wine, which is something that takes a very long time to make, especially if it's done right.
What's a very long time?
The barley wines I like to drink typically take between 16 months and 24 months to make. But I would say barrel-aged beers and wild and spontaneous fermented beers are things that take the longest to make. Barrel-aged beers are brewed and fermented out in usually 21 days. Where they're put into a bourbon barrel, just like the ones you see behind us. These ones are from Wild Turkey. We've got some Heaven Hill over there. We've got some Weller and some Eagle Rare back over there. I mean, those French oak barrels that we've got sitting over there, those beers have been in there for almost 2 years. So it really depends on the brewery and what they focus on, but there's some beers that, talk about VSOJ. VSOJ is a beer from Revolution. It's a barrel-aged barley wine that they made a year and a half ago. It took them 2 years to make. And to me, that's just impressive. Same thing with our barrel program. It generally sits anywhere from 14 to 16 months, depending on what it is. I've got a Doppelbock right now, which was in a smaller barrel, so it takes a little bit less time. It's still sat in the barrel for a year. Bourbon Face Neck, I've got that in cans right now. That took 16 months to make. So the longest beer I think we've probably ever made when it comes out will be the one in that bottom right you see right over there. That's the Passion Fruit Wild that we've got going on. That's probably the longest one we've had to make, but any of these barrels over here have been sitting there for over a year already.
Wow.
Yeah, not even the two you can't see back there, that's probably 18 months.
So, made with a lot of TLC.
Yeah, a lot of time, and like I mentioned before with several other beers, if it ain't right, our brewers aren't going to put it out. So sometimes it sits, and we just wait, and then we drink it happily when it comes out, because it is so damn good.
Hey. Let's see, we have more questions. Lauren asks, do you guys have any, oh my gosh, it's the word I don't know, caveat to ferment?
Quebec?
Quebec.
K-V-I-E-K?
Yes.
I love that somebody asked that question. Yeah, we don't do a ton of Quebec yeast. Quebec yeast, for most of you that don't know this, is a yeast that ferments at a very, 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 very high temperature, which allows us to produce beer quicker. We don't do a lot with it. However, over the last several years, we've done several. I've actually got one in the tank that was canned today. It's a Schwartz beer, which is going to be called, which leads into something we were talking about earlier. It's called Bat Blanc.
What's the story behind the name?
So when Paul, the head brewer, and his family would go up to this town in Geneva and have their beers at noon, they would wait till dusk and go out into the forest and walk and go and look for bats.
Oh.
So the can has the 3 bats that they would see typically when they went out. But yeah, it's a Quebec style Schwartz beer that we've got going on. We've done a hazy IPA with Quebec yeast. Actually, we've done a couple of Gigawatt was with Quebec yeast. Buy the Ticket, Take the Rye was with Quebec yeast, and this new Schwartz beer is with Quebec yeast. So we do use Quebec from time to time. We don't use it all the time, but it's something that we're familiar with, we're comfortable with, and if we have time to do it, or we need something in a short period of time, it's something we're definitely absolutely doing.
Awesome. So we have one more question, but if you guys have any more questions, shoot them into the chat. Our last question is from Jane, and she wants to know, can you order online or through phone for pickup for food and beer?
Absolutely, to all of the things. So if you're looking for something, either location, you can go to newmusclebrewing.com. With the store, it's in the upper right-hand corner, and just click whichever location you're closest to. If you're looking for food, you gotta come to Lombard. Naperville doesn't have the kitchen. But if you're looking for beer, all you gotta do is click the one that's closest to you. We've usually got the same beers. You can also call us, take an order over the phone. You can come in and see us. You can walk right in the front door. We have 2 coolers directly to the front of the door. You can grab what you want. You pay within 5 steps and walk out to your car. We've got curbside available pickup. You name it, we'll do it. We're here to get you beer. We're here to hang out with you guys. Whatever you want to do. We just want to make sure you get what you want.
Awesome. Matt, any other parting words?
Just a couple things. Obviously, I want to know what you know where we're at. We're at 800 East Roosevelt Road, right on Roosevelt Road in Lombard, Illinois, what I call the chicken capital of the world. We've got a Mr. Gross, a Popeyes, and a KFC in the same parking lot. So I just want to make sure you come out and see us. We've also got our new location with 1748 West Jefferson over Naperville. Something we're extremely proud of. It is a 30,000 square foot production facility which has just got so much brand new equipment, which is helping us produce better beer. One thing that we wanted to make sure that we focused on when we were growing is quality. A lot of the times when you see breweries grow and take a step forward, you'll see their quality drop. That's not something you're going to see with New Muscle. We've invested in a new quality control person. We've got a lab tech now. We've bought a damn X-ray machine for our can line.
Okay.
Like every single thing that we're doing here in New Muscle has quality in mind to make sure that we're getting the best beer possible out of the people that are drinking our beer and the people that aren't. We want to make sure that we're making sure that every single thing is perfect, not only to our standards, but our customer standards. We're here for you. At the end of the day, when it comes to our beer, we're making beer obviously that we want to drink. We're also making beer that you want to drink as well. And we're thankful for all the support. Thankful to Little City for having this event here at our wonderful Lombard location, again, at 800 East Roosevelt Road.
We actually have one last question. Are you
Perfect.
ready for
Bring them
it?
in. Give me all the questions.
Okay. Can you describe how you do your recipe development?
A lot of it comes from the individual brewers. So typically, when we were first growing New Muscle, it all came from our head brewer, Paul's mind. He would come up with something, he would make it. In fact, his start came from, we worked for the same company at separate times at a Burke Beverage, and he started brewing his recipes from Sam Adams beer brewing competition, which he thought was super cool. So he developed his own recipes, but over time that we've added more brewing staff, he inspires all of our brewers to go ahead and create something, and then they collaborate on it. So let's see, over the first portion of the COVID times, we had some open tanks, and we let every brewer that we had on staff just pick something that they wanted to brew that they thought was cool and go ahead and do it. So they worked on a recipe like Fat Bottom Squirrel and Arbuckle, which is, Fat Bottom Squirrel is a peanut butter brown that people love.
What?
Yeah.
Do you still have them?
No, it's sold out. It's sold real good. And Arbuckle, which is that squirrel's name. Yes, we have a squirrel that lives out back.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah.
Where is the squirrel?
He's chilling out back. He can't get very far. He's real fat. He eats all the spent grain. He's a big boy. But yeah, we have a lot of fun here. We have Pueblo 1862, one of our brewers, Ricardo. That was his. It was a Mexican Independence Day style of beer. It had orange peel and cinnamon and coffee and all sorts of things that were important to him. That's something that he really got involved with. All of our brewers are heavily involved in the brewing process, and it's important to us that not just myself, but our owners, as well as everyone on staff, that everyone speaks who they are and is true to who they are, and make sure that they make important decisions based on who they are, and that's where a lot of our beer comes from.
And I think that's shown through all your different beers. Like,
yeah,
you're allowed to express yourself.
absolutely. Something that I'm particularly proud of. This year there's been a lot of talks of racial inequality, and it was my goal to make sure that my children are going to be are going to be black. My wife is black, and that's important to me. So we partnered with Weathered Souls and brewed a beer and raised thousands and thousands of dollars for the Equal Justice Initiative. And they encouraged that. They told me, we want you to go ahead and do this. So my wife and I helped brew the beer, we canned the beer, we helped get the adjunct, we helped design with the label design. We did everything that we could, and that's something that New Whistle empowered us to do. And same thing with this next year. We did T21 earlier for children with Down syndrome. We're going to continue to do things here at New Whistle that not only have an impact on ourselves and our families and our communities, but on people who aren't as well off as we are. Whether that's racial inequality or a physical disability or a mental disability, or you name it, that's something that we want to make sure that we continue to do, and we will always do here at Universal, is give back to the people that have always been good to us, and we're not going to stop doing that.
Well, that's amazing, and we're so happy that you partnered with us tonight.
We're happy
It's
that you
been
partnered with us.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. So right now we're going to do raffle number 3. So again, if you have this green topper with winner 3 under it, you are going to win a Noon Whistle growler, 2 pint glasses, and a sound check with the Little City name on it. So if you are the lucky winner, please chat in your name so we can celebrate you and make sure that you get your prize. All right, well, we'll hold off on that. While we're waiting for you guys to chat in, we just want to say thank you to Matt and Noon Whistle. This has been amazing.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. Like I said, this is something I care a lot about, and something I hope to continue to do in the future, especially when we can have you all in our room, get together, and have a real good time.
Yeah, so that's our goal for next week. So our winner is John and Maggie Hatch. So congratulations
Yeah,
to
John
them.
and Maggie, congratulations.
So all of our winners, keep your eye out. We will send you your prizes. Thank you so much again for joining us tonight. We had so much fun. We're gonna kick it back to Jane, and yeah, cheers.
Cheers, everyone. So I'm not entirely sure why I got to be the last person here after tasting 4 beers to close it down. I do want to thank Matt, and I want to be sure that, in these times that, you all support our local businesses such as Noon Whistle. I was looking at the chat and I see that Sue and Ryan, our mom and son, I'm assuming that they're not in the same room right now, but I know that Sue seems to love Cosmo. So I'm thinking, Ryan, go to Noon Whistle, pick up some Cosmo for Christmas, for Thanksgiving. It seems like your mom really wants a present from Noon Whistle. So if all of us can support Noon Whistle, that would be an awesome thing. And I do have a few impromptu prizes. So I gotta say that I am loving the Julies. I don't know if we can get them on the spotlight, if anyone has seen them, but I didn't know there was a category for best hat, but I think the Julies win best hat. So we are going to be sending you a swag bag present. So I know that Nancy's on listening, and we will be sending it to you. I do need to give a shout out to my brothers, Bill and Jim, who are on the call. And we do have some, and I thank you and your crowd and the rest of you at table 11 for joining us this evening. We will be sending you a survey. Everyone hates surveys. Will you please fill out the survey, because we do want to have more of these. Would you like to have another beer tasting, a wine tasting, a cocktail mixing thing? I know the associate board also thought, well, maybe a trivia night would be a great thing to have next month or the month after that. So please let us know what you might be interested in. All kinds of virtual events these next few months. So we have a long winter coming up. Let's spend the winter together. Also, we have opportunities for virtual volunteering. We have people who will do Zoom meetings or Zoom virtual volunteering with our participants. If that's something that you're interested in, we have people who will do online yoga classes with our adults with intellectual disabilities, or a painting class, or chair Tai Chi. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but I will find out what that is. So there's a lot of opportunities where we are still doing virtual volunteering. As Teresa and our associate board mentioned earlier, we are recruiting for our associate board. So if you're a young professional in the area, reach out to us. And, we would love to go to littlecity.org, associate board. I'm glad I looked up at my screen and I saw that there was a link there. At the same time, I want to thank Steve Coleman. He's in the audience today as well. He's one of our co-chairs for our Little City Golf Invitational. And we are also having a sort of an associate board of sorts with our golf committee. So if you're a young professional, you can be on both, whether or not that you on the associate board, or if you want to join our golf committee. And we have some opportunities for you there. So, and as far as any golfers out there, we are recruiting for our golf board. And I will want to give a shout out to Steve, whose wife had a baby this Monday. So congratulations to Steve. I'm trying to see if I did all my PSA announcements. We are also celebrating Giving Tuesday. I hope a lot of you have heard about Giving Tuesday. It's the sort of day of giving, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving this year, where everyone sort of supports their favorite charity. I hope that you think that Little City is one of your favorite charities. And if you donate $125 or more, your donation will really be worth $250, because we do have the Coleman Foundation who will match all gifts, $125, $100 and more. So finally, the last fun thing is that, well, maybe two last fun things. Please, everyone, take a selfie of your group, post it on social media with the hashtags. Jess, what was the hashtag again? It was Little City Brews. And please tag Little City and Noon Whistle. And everyone that posted on Instagram or other social media, and we can find it via that hashtag, maybe we will send you have another drawing for that prize. So we are going to ask that everyone put their screens on right now, because we're going to take a group photo. So everyone, I saw that Adrian had just had her dog on the screen. So Adrian, you're going to have to get on the screen with your dog now. So how is everyone going to do this, Jess?
Yeah, if you just take your camera off, I'll go ahead and take a screenshot so that we can all do a cheers and then with the cheers.
Yeah. So hold up your favorite glass or can of beer. And seriously, this is, to friends old and new, and to a wonderful time we all had together. Thank you so much.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Good night.